Hello, this is Angel Duda 228 with another segment on the gifts of ADHD. Okay, now today is a rant about ADHD. Now, from my experiences with ADHD, I think the government wants to control people with ADHD because people with ADHD are really smart. They have a higher IQ than the normal average person, but they might be slow in other things. But that doesn't matter. You don't have to be great at everything to accomplish certain jobs or do things that people want you to do. I think that the government wants to control people with ADHD and put them on medication and put their brains, basically make them zombified. And because a person with ADHD can actually learn a lot more than a normal person can. They're way smarter than other people, but they might have a hard time doing things like English or math. But who needs math in real day society? There's such a thing called a calculator, but even with English, no one needs to know proper English. You don't need to you don't need to have correct spelling or anything like that. That's why you have ABC check on Word. If I didn't have that, I'd be totally lost. But yeah, I think that the government is trying to conceal people with ADHD and trying to slow them down a little bit more so they don't overthrow the government. Well, I think that ADHD people are super beings, and they basically are like a normal person's IQ is let's say 120, right? Person with ADHD, like myself or others, and ADD, have an IQ of 182, or roughly, let's say. And they're basically half, or probably 85% of all computer hackers have ADHD. And all web design and computers, anything that has to do with computers, because computers are all straightforward, they're all logic. And people with ADHD think logically. They don't think if they look at a picture and then like a Picasso, and they're like, oh, that's supposed to represent emotion. But some people with ADHD can't recognize emotion very well. They can't recognize how people are feeling. If I'm going like this, how am I feeling right now? People with ADHD don't recognize that as well. I don't recognize that very well at all. But when I explain my emotion towards people, let's say I'm having struggles in my life, right? I give an example. I say, my life is sort of like my car, and it keeps breaking down all the time. People with ADHD can't just say I'm happy or I'm mad. They just use examples sort of like that. And I don't want to keep this video too long, so I will upload another one. So, alright. Well, that's just my little rant on ADHD, and I hope everybody in the ADHD and YouTube committee have a good summer. And you do know that pretty much all video creators on YouTube have ADHD, but they're afraid that people, if they say that they have ADHD, they're afraid that people will come down on them and say, why do you have this? Take your medication, take this. You shouldn't have ADHD, you don't have it. And when you look at the eyes of a person with ADHD, they might think, if you work with them, you might think that they're slow. You might think that they're retarded. But actually they're not. They just have a different process of doing things. Yeah. So, I guess I'll see you all later in my next video on the gifts of ADHD. Alright, this is Angel Dude at 228 saying, have a good day.